Hey guys, so today I am going to discuss with Advocate Viswajit Singh about CNT Act and its implication, how it become a so controversial act for the Jharkhand as per concern. So yes, sir, welcoming you to this session. So please introduce you to our audience.
Thank you, Gaurav. I am Advocate Vishwajit Singh, and I am glad to be here with you talking about CNT Act.
Yes, sir. So for because I am also not known about this act, so please introduce what is CNT and how it come into the Indian origin, like how it enacted and from which date it is implicated in India.
CNT stands for Chotanagpur Tenancy Act,
Yes, sir.
and it was passed by the British colonial government in the year 1908.
Yes, sir.
Uh, to understand why this act was passed and its main objectives, we have to examine the extracts from the speech of Mr. Slake. Uh, he was the person who moved the amending of the bill of 1903, and he was the late commissioner of Chotanagpur. So, in his speech, this is what he said. Owing to the non recognition of their rights, the Mundaris, for more than three-fourths of the century, have been in a state of agitation, which from the time has culminated in outbursts. In 1822, a horde of middlemen was let loose over the country by the then Maharaja of Chotanagpur. These persons were up-countrymen. They were ignorant of and oblivious to the rights and customs of the aborigines, among whom naturally much discontent arose. This found a vent in the Great Munda Rebellion of 1832 and 1833, the immediate cause of which was an attempt by the Thakur of Sonpurgarh to destroy the Khutkati rights in Bandgaon and Kochang in the district of Ranchi. The attempts to destroy the Khutkatidars' rights did not cease, and they were the cause of the disturbances between the landlords and tenants in that district in the year of the mutiny. Both sides took advantage of the disorder that then prevailed. The landlords to oust the Khutkatidars who were holding at low permanent rentals, and the Khutkatidars who were holding at low permanent rentals, the Khutkatidars to recover the Khutkati lands which the landlords had previously succeeded in making Rajas and Mahajans, Rayat or Sir. So this is an extract from the speech of Mr. Slake, which became the basis for the passing of the Chotanagpur Tenancy Act, which was passed on 11th of November 1908. Now, when we analyze the speech of Mr. Slake, we find that there was a lot of discontent among the tribal people of Chotanagpur,
Yes, sir.
and there is a very famous Munda rebellion and the Ulgulan. Ulgulan is again it's part of the rebellion in which Bhagwan Birsa Munda became a very prominent figure.
Yes, sir.
So now this Chotanagpur Tenancy Act of 1908 is not it is not the first act. The first Chotanagpur Tenancy Act was passed in 1869, and it was improved later on. So the Chotanagpur Tenures Act of 1869 was passed, and it re-established the rights of the Munda Khutkatidars. Now, this is a very specific term. Kutkatidar,
Okay, sir.
about which we will understand later on. But this Chotanagpur Tenures Act of 1869 was dismissed. It was not accepted by the Mundaris because it did not recognize it omitted the new Khutkatidar villages. So, consequently, the prolonged dissatisfaction uh, was the reason which led the British government to have a survey and record of rights made of the Mundari country. The whole Chotanagpur region was called the Mundari country. So, if we analyze the speech of Mr. Slake further, uh, this is what he said. But if steps are not taken to safeguard by legislation the rights of those people and to secure the finality of the record of rights, the latter by itself will not suffice to quieten the agitation. As long as 1839, it was reported that unless those people are protected in the possession of their lands, we never can be certain of the peace of the country. Once the necessary facts have been obtained, as is now the case, such legislation cannot be delayed because the attacks which have been made on their rights so pertinacious and for so long a time will be carried on with greatly increased vigor owing to the need of acting before the law can intervene. So, if we go backwards to understanding how this whole Chotanagpur country uh, became the uh, axis mundi of
So we are talking about a
the
Chotanagpur country.
yes, it was a country basically.
Okay.
What happened was that if you go into history, you will find that after the British occupied, established an effective control of the whole Bengal region,
Yeah.
it set its eyes on the regions south of Bhagalpur, which
Yeah.
was a forest area.
Yeah.
So first they tried to establish a contact with the Pahadiyas,
Okay.
but the Pahadiyas they did not accept the outsiders.
Yeah.
So then the Bengal had its own Adivasi communities, which were the Santhalis. And so what they did was they encouraged them to occupy uh, the forested areas of the Jharkhand region. Now, the British, they were always acting according to a plan. So, after these people had occupied the region for more than a century or more, they now started establishing revenue villages, meaning that if you live in this area, you have to pay some kind of revenue. It was first registered by the tribals, but then the revenue was not a very uh, not a very huge amount. So some kind of arrangement was made. But then the Britishers were uh, actually eyeing the resources of this region, that is the forest and the forest products, the wood, the same that they had been doing in Burma. So
Yeah.
what they did was they they encouraged a horde of middlemen and traders who infiltrated the Adivasi community, and they sort of disrupted the Adivasi life. So
So there
now
was
before
there
the
was always a issue comes like there was always a mediator in India or in Indian regions. Yeah,
middleman,
middleman. There was always a middleman who disturbs this kind of things.
yes, and the most important thing to notice is that the tribals have their own way of life.
Yeah.
Now, a stigma is attached to the tribals that of a they are a lower civilization than
Yeah,
the
they are not.
Brahminical civilization.
Yeah.
But we must understand that these tribals they are not in any ways lower than the Brahminical hierarchical civilization where the caste bound civilization,
Yeah.
but they are rather in some ways much better than the caste based civilization
Yeah.
because the tribals give more emphasis to community ownership than private ownership.
Yeah.
And this is very important because the tribals, they consider the forest to be community owned.
Yeah.
No individual owns the uh, forest, but yes, the community owns the forest, and they need to use the forest only so long as their needs are met.
Yeah.
They they have a symbiotic relationship with the forest. They don't exploit or over exploit the forest for their own needs.
Yeah, but the Britisher era or Britisher period, they acquire land or attack the forest for their like
Yes,
woods. Yeah.
the most important difference between a tribal community and the colonials was that they saw the forest as their resources from where they would cut the wood and they
Yeah.
would take it to England.
Yeah.
But the village communities, they live in the forest.
Yeah.
So they won't destroy the forest in which they are living, and they are dependent on the forest.
Yeah.
So as the number of middlemen started increasing,
Yeah.
they started disrupting uh, disrupting the tribal way of life.
Yeah.
And this is where Bhagwan Birsa Munda, and and not only Bhagwan Birsa Munda, there were other rebellions also.
Yeah.
But this rebellion of Bhagwan Birsa Munda, which was in 1896, it was the latest and the most bloodiest movement of all, in which Bhagwan Birsa Munda fought valiantly. And there is an interesting story as to why uh, Bhagwan Birsa Munda is called Bhagwan Birsa Munda.
Okay. Yeah. The story
Yes,
of being a Bhagwan. Yeah.
yes. Why? Because see, when these outsiders, they infiltrated the tribal community,
Yeah.
they not only infiltrated the tribal community physically, but they also disrupted their way of life.
Yeah.
The missionaries also entered the forests along with these traders and middlemen,
Yeah.
and uh, they started preaching their own religion.
Yeah.
So much so that the tribals had to resist with force whatever force they had.
Yeah.
They were certainly not modern as compared to the Britishers, but they had to resist. So Birsa Munda, he declared that I am the God, and you call me Bhagwan,
Yeah.
and I will take you to the heaven. I mean, if the aim of religion is to take you to heaven for
Yeah.
your good deeds, then he promised heaven.
Okay.
But he also promised that you can only get heaven only if you fight for your motherland, where you have been placed. This land is yours.
Yeah.
You are born here, so you have to do sacrifice for this land. And
So,
this exploitation had been going on for a very long period of time.
so to create a sense of motivation kind of thing,
A
he,
sense of nationality
yeah.
and motivation.
Yeah.
To create a sense of nationality and motivation,
Yeah.
they he was very successful. He was successful in uniting all the tribals of this Chotanagpur region,
Yeah.
and this uh, shook the British administration in this region. So much so that they now were, I mean, they were now convinced that if a proper legislation is not brought about to
Yeah.
safeguard the tribal land or the forests,
Yeah.
and if we do not give any kind of rights to these tribals, they would not let us rest in peace.
Yeah.
Because the British were fighting for profit and the tribals were fighting for their own survival.
Yeah. Now
So
also
whenever
in many parts of India,
hmm,
like corporate do like that. They want to acquire the land for their factory setup and all, but the like farming and this kind of thing get destroyed and the land used for that kind of thing.
Actually, Gaurav, these things, the most tragic part of it is that we are doing these things in the grab of legislation.
Yeah, legislation allow
Earlier,
these kind of thing and exploitation of the people in their own land and
yes,
destroy.
yes,
Yeah,
that is true.
yeah,
Like, for example, uh, the makers of our constitution must
yeah,
have thought something very important. Therefore, they made the right to property as a fundamental right.
yeah. But after,
But
yeah, that amendment, yeah,
42nd Amendment, it
yeah,
removed this right,
yeah,
and this right was removed so that the land would be acquired by the government
yeah,
without any kind of litigation for the national good.
yeah.
Now, and also
And the
the
national goods
DPSP.
and agenda of government can change.
See, now here is the catch. Uh, in later amendments of the Constitution,
Yeah,
the directive principle of state policy was given preference over the fundamental rights.
yeah,
That means if your individual rights are being infringed
yeah,
for the sake of greater national good, then your fundamental rights, it is it is okay
yeah,
that your fundamental rights are infringed.
yeah,
Now, this greater national good or national security or national development, it is quite a vague term.
yeah,
Like, I'll give you an example. I'll not discuss into the uh, legality of the issue.
yeah,
What is there is there.
yeah,
But think for a moment that a road is going to pass through your land,
yeah,
and you are a farmer.
yeah,
So the government will say that we are going to acquire your land and will give you compensation 5 to 6 times.
yeah,
So the person gets compensation of 5 to 6 times,
yeah,
and he has to let go its land. But since he has no other work to do,
yeah,
he doesn't know any other work,
yeah,
he will not be able to keep that money.
yeah,
So the government may say that, okay, we have given you 5 or 6 times the money,
yeah,
so you should be happy. But in return, what he has lost is a piece of land, and not only his land, but also his livelihood.
yeah. And many parts of India also this kind of problem is happening. Corporate come to their village,
Hmm.
destroy their own livelihood, and the
Hmm.
person become unemployed or their generation are destroyed and become unemployed.
Okay. Apart from that, there are there is a term called uh, PAPS,
Yeah,
Project Affected People.
yeah,
Now, suppose there is a construction of dam taking
yeah,
place in your region.
yeah,
So that dam, due to dam,
yes, sir.
so there is this issue of affected people.
Yeah,
So some years back, I did an audit of such project affected people in Bhopal. I I saw this problem firsthand that the compensation that actually needs to be given
yeah,
to the project affected people is
yeah,
not given at all. CNT was such an important act. It was such an important piece of legislation. Its importance cannot be undermined. But such problems of land grabbing, that is called a high profile corporate land grabbing, is taking place every now and then in our country.
yeah,
And that is all being done under the tagline of greater national good.
yeah.
What national good is happening, we do not know.
And
I'll give
it's
you,
changing. It's changing like in 5 years. It's changing basically.
and what uh, greater good is happening, you really do not know.
Yeah,
Because take, for example, some XYZ company
yeah,
opens up a manufacturing plant in India.
yeah,
Okay. So the government of India, they gave them land. And what is the greatest issue of India at this present moment? Employment.
yeah,
So if a big plant, suppose a big automobile company has opened a big plant in some region, at least the nearby villages
Yeah,
where the land has been acquired, they should get employment.
yeah,
But if the plant is 100% automatic,
yeah. How much
if,
employment it will generate? Yeah,
how much employment it will generate?
yeah,
So that automobile plant will end up polluting the region.
yeah,
The water resources, water bodies will be polluted,
yeah,
and the government will not get anything more than the tax.
yeah,
So a government here, by giving you thousands of acres of land, if you are an automobile company, by giving you thousands of acres of land, the government is losing two very vital things. One, it is losing prime agricultural land.
yeah,
In the future, the loss of production in that thousands of hectares will be compensated only by import
yeah,
the the food imports,
yeah,
and it will not be cheap.
yeah.
And the second thing is that even after giving thousands of hectares of land, the government is not able to provide employment to its people.
And I think it will lose some of employment because it it is not equal to the employment generated.
So it is a new kind of colonialism.
Yeah,
It's a new kind of colony,
corporate kind of thing.
corporate kind of. And the saddest part of it is that it is all being done in collusion with the political parties.
Yeah,
It is all being done in the collusion of the parliament, which is making and enacting laws in favor of these corporate people who are grabbing the land.
yeah,
So this is the scenario in which we have been working since 1947.
yeah. New
So
type of corporate come always in India, or in India also many corporate like take birth and become so big and do these kind of things.
exactly. Now I'll give you. I mean, we are a 150 crore plus people.
Yeah,
The greatest problem that we are going to face in the very near future is food.
yeah,
We have been sustaining this huge population only because we have been net food producers.
yeah,
But if we try to copy the China model, and
yeah.
if we try to become the manufacturing house of the
Power.
world,
Yeah,
we are surely going to collapse.
yeah. That's the
Rather,
thing.
we should try to have a sustainable development,
Yeah,
which is very
be
important for
slow
us.
but be sustainable. Sustainable.
Be slow but be sustainable.
Yeah,
I would not want my country to be a very high per capita country
yeah,
at the cost of food insecurity.
yeah. Anytime the Russia-Ukraine war can be happen and your food security will collapse and this kind of thing happens. Like,
So,
yeah,
so this land grabbing has been a phenomena of the present modern India, and you will be very surprised to know, Gaurav, if you look throughout history, you'll find that India has always been a land of high population density. Why is it so? Why has India? It is not a new phenomena. India is a very dense country population wise because naturally India is endowed with such huge potential that people find living here more sustainable.
yeah,
The Indo-Gangetic Plain or even the Tamil region has been occupied since time immemorial.
yeah,
It's been over 4,000 years
yeah,
since we have had a streak of continuous civilization.
yeah,
The most important reason for this is that we have, if you even today, the per capita fertile land that India has is more than that of China.
yeah,
Even though China is a much bigger country than, and I am comparing India with China because at the present moment, it is our greatest adversary.
yeah,
We cannot compare ourselves with America because they have a different culture, they have a different scenario setup. But if you look at China, we are the two most populous countries in the world. So if you look at China, even today, India can very easily support such a huge population. provided that we recognize our strength and we should not fall into the trap of this. It is a developmental trap. That
yeah,
is, you need very big roads, you need
yeah.
modern facilities. You don't need all those things.
Because if we are losing our villages, we are
Hmm.
getting a trap and making people go to like towns or cities and don't get a proper job and leave their own land, and doing agricultural activities becoming a bad thing to do. This kind of thing is happening.
And Gaurav, the most important, see, the beauty of this country is that if live in any region, that region is quite self-sustaining. We do not need to be more interdependent than it is needed. I'll give you an example. How many times have you boarded a plane?
Yeah, I
How
think
many times?
like it's two or three.
Two or three?
Yeah,
Because it's not because we can't afford it. It's
yeah,
because we don't need it.
yeah,
I live in this region and
yeah,
I find I'm quite content to live in this region. I don't
yeah,
need to go to Bangalore or to Madras or to Bombay
yeah,
for my earnings.
yeah.
We,
Wherever
we,
in
we are,
India we live, we are self-sustained. Yeah,
that is the most beautiful thing.
yeah,
Now, if if the government they start designing the economy of the country according to themselves, where they will ban the sugarcane production in Maharashtra and
yeah,
they will ban rice production in Jharkhand. So for all your rice, you will be dependent on Maharashtra, and for all the sugarcane, Maharashtra will be dependent on Jharkhand. It will have disastrous consequences. We have never um, commercialized agriculture. We do commercial agriculture, but mostly we do subsistence agriculture, where if you have got a small piece of land, you grow everything over there
yeah,
and you are self-sustained. And if I give you an option that I buy your land and I'll give you 20 lakhs, or you do agriculture and you get 50,000 per year, you will choose the latter one because that is recurring income.
yeah,
So if the corporate gives you n number of times the compensation, say it is 5 or 6 times, even then you will end up becoming poorer
yeah,
because the money that you are getting may not be able to buy or may not be able to sustain you for 2 or 3 generations. What will your child do? If you do a survey of all those people who have been displaced due to mega projects, just look at their second or third generation. They are
yeah,
either manual workers
yeah,
or they are living in the slums in big metro cities.
yeah,
They have not developed. And if you look at a good engineer who is working in USA, if you look at some person of Bihar who is preparing for civil services, if you go back, you will find that the first, the second, or the third generation, it is connected with agriculture.
yeah,
There are many farmers in Bihar and Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh who have made their children engineers and doctors and IAS officers because they knew that they had the greatest asset that they had was their land.
yeah.
So I don't know whether we should start a revolution for reinstating the right to property or not. I don't know how much the youth of today sees the land as such, but if I'm given an opportunity, I would certainly fight for reinstating the right to property
Yeah.
because it is not only a basic right; it is a security.
For now, time the timing is like get your property, have the agricultural land, and do
Hmm.
some kind of thing like any kind of poultry or this kind of business you can do. Live at your village.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now, see, if you just compare the polluting industries with agriculture,
yeah,
if the modern youth of India, say for example, the China has become the manufacturing workshop of the world.
yeah,
Why can't we become the kitchen of the world?
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
at the end of whatever you do, humanity needs something to eat.
yeah,
So if you like, for example, take for example Israel and Turkey, they produce and they export fruits in huge quantity.
yeah,
American apples come to India.
yeah,
India has its own strengths. So if we start looking at our industry from our agriculture as an industry,
yeah,
agriculture has the potential, as a huge potential of absorbing the Indian youth and giving them employment.
yeah. Because it's
And
a labor-intensive job also. Many people need at that agricultural land.
many people need it. And if you and in agriculture also there are certain agriculture, certain types of products that you grow which has huge demand.
Yeah,
If you seriously do apiary, for apiary you do not need extra piece of land.
yeah,
Madhumakhi palan,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't need extra piece of land.
yeah,
Inland fishes, they have huge return on investment.
yeah,
The Andhra region is doing fishery, inland fishery, and it has got huge potential.
yeah,
So you will be able to do, and the most important thing is that if you are doing organic agriculture, it does not kill your environment.
yeah,
It doesn't pollute your water.
yeah.
It doesn't pollute your land. So we are.
One more thing, like if I go to my village,
Hmm,
it seems to like all the person are busy around agriculture, but they're not happy to do that because the
hmm.
infrastructure, the cost of production is so high and the return on investment is too low.
You know what? They are not happy because of a certain region.
Yeah,
If the government becomes the market,
yeah,
if the government becomes the market,
yeah,
if the government does not need to do anything, they just need to buy the product
yeah. Sell it into others. Yeah,
and market the products.
yeah,
That's what they need it.
yeah,
Okay. So if the government buys the product, that's it. The farmers will be, because no farmer who is into agriculture will also go to the market to sell his produce.
yeah,
He will take the help of middleman.
yeah,
There is no problem with the middleman also, but that middleman can be regularized and controlled by the government.
yeah. The
That you
structure
take
should
that.
be there. Like the cost, like cost to the farmer should be higher.
Yes.
Yeah,
So middleman will also get a job.
yeah,
Now what is happening is that the middleman is uncontrolled. He
yeah.
is
They will
taking.
charge a lot, and sometimes anything like they can charge.
Okay, so we end up discussing the fact that if a farmer gives land to some corporate, he
Yeah,
loses this land forever.
yeah, yeah.
And the problem is compounded if the person is not literate or his children are not literate,
And most of the time they are not.
and most of the time they are not.
Yeah,
So this CNT Act,
yeah,
it came into being because the the tribals had nothing else
yeah,
except their land.
yeah,
And this land was also very special. It was not an agricultural land that they had, it was a forest.
yeah,
And the forest was providing them with everything that they needed for their living.
yeah,
They could clear up a certain region of the forest, do slash and burn,
yeah,
agriculture, uh, but the rest of the forest would be intact, and they would leave this region after 3 or 4 or 5 produces fallow for the next 10 years. In
yeah.
the next 10 years new forest would grow. Means the tribal activity in the forest was not detrimental to forest. The forest was surviving, and they were happy with their way of life.
And one more thing, like their sentiment has changed. Like they like to be in urban cities. They want to
This
be
is
the urban, have the
no,
urban life.
no. This is the present scenario.
Yeah,
We will discuss about it later on.
yeah,
But these were the historical reasons why CNT Act came into being.
yeah, yeah,
Now, the Mundaris said that you, I mean, we are a community and we are a culture.
yeah,
So our culture can survive only if we have forest.
yeah,
Our culture will not survive without forest. So
yeah,
forest is central to our identity. So let
yeah,
us have a legislation where the outsiders will not intrude into our
yeah,
culture. And this was very important. So the protection of the forests of Jharkhand was also equivalent to protecting the identities of the Jharkhandi people, the Chotanagpur people, and
yeah,
therefore this act was very important.
yeah,
So see, if you look at CNT Act in a wider scenario as to what is happening today, you will find the echo of a need of CNT like act in agricultural lands also.
yeah, yeah,
The government, just because of its for its own benefits, the government is diluting the land laws, and too much power is being placed into the hands of the district magistrate and SDO and the CO, and it is infringing upon the livelihood of the people.
yeah,
Now, if you extrapolate it, right to land and right to life cannot be seen in alienation.
yeah,
I consider the right to landed property
yeah,
as something directly linked to right to life.
yeah,
And if the right to life is, and we also have the right of livelihood,
yeah,
right to work, right of
yeah,
livelihood.
yeah,
Now, if you guarantee me, if the Constitution guarantees right to life, if the Constitution guarantees right to work, right to livelihood, which is also part of right to life, and it does not guarantee me the right to land, then
yeah,
it is a paradox.
yeah,
So you have to see land in terms of how important it is for some communities. There is an agriculturist in a remote district of Bihar or in remote district of Uttar Pradesh who has not done anything for past so many generations, his father, his forefather. That land, that piece of land, that village, it is his universe. It is his
yeah.
identity. It is his life. I have so many relatives who are very old. They are educated, but they would not like to go to Delhi.
Yeah, because we live and the ecosystem and the knowns and the known ones, whole environment is there, like whole lifestyle is there.
So we have to ask ourselves, Gaurav, that are we ready to give government this much power that they will disrupt our way of life?
Yeah, because
What is the how important is government? We have to
yeah,
ask ourselves. I mean, yes, we have to ask ourselves. See, suppose a Lok Sabha election takes place.
yeah,
What is the percentage of vote do you think that a winning political party gets? It is not more than 35%.
yeah,
And 35, and that means 35% means that 35% have voted for you, which means that 65% have not voted for you,
yeah,
or they have not given you opinion.
yeah,
So the government, just in the grab of nation building, the
yeah,
government cannot be given that much right, because it is we the people of India who have formed the constitution, and it is the constitution which has given limited rights to the parliament. Parliament does not have unlimited rights.
yeah,
I would also propose something more, Gaurav. See, whenever the political parties they enter into election,
yeah,
they come up with a manifesto.
yeah,
Why can't the Supreme Court make this manifesto legally binding?
yeah. That should be like a contact kind of thing that you have to fulfill these kind of things. Yeah,
You have fought elections on the basis of 20 basic points. You make it
yeah,
200 basic points.
yeah,
You have been given only 5 years,
yeah,
Mr. X party. Mr. X
yeah,
party, you have been given only 5 years, and you are entering into you are going to the public on the basis of 200 promises that you will do,
yeah,
200 basic promises, and you are, see, when you go to get an admission in an engineering college, you get a very big brochure.
yeah,
Then why should this manifesto be a small pamphlet? Why shouldn't
yeah,
it be a brochure? Why shouldn't you invest money in this rather than making big rallies.
Yeah, so the political party will also plan and create
Yes,
a bunch of rules and regulation for their upcoming
like for
events.
example, the election commission says that you will not spend more than 100 crores in
Yeah,
elections,
yeah,
and here the cost shoots to 60,000 crores. What is
yeah,
the need of that? You just make a very good manifesto. You
yeah,
submit one manifesto in the Supreme Court.
yeah,
If there are 20 political parties fighting,
yeah.
those 20 political parties should submit the manifesto to the Supreme Court that yes, these are the things on which we are seeking a mandate. Now, suppose Mr. the X party wins, that means the Supreme Court has registered their mandate, and we will analyze your performance after 5 years on the basis of that mandate.
And their audit and this kind of thing comes into the
Why not?
yeah,
Why
yeah,
can't we do that? Why shouldn't we do that?
yeah,
The political parties are vague on so many things because they know that if we are open,
yeah,
certain factions will not give us vote. So this is a way of cheating, no?
yeah,
Or else, just if you are not doing that, then just don't even publish a manifesto.
yeah,
If you are bent on cheating the people, don't publish a manifesto even.
yeah,
So the thing is, how can we make the political parties accountable?
yeah,
Because we have seen that we cannot make them accountable by making lokpal or
yeah,
by these things don't work actually
yeah.
in the real scenario. These things, and any particular day a political party may come up which will misuse these government institutions to subvert democracy.
And it's
Any
somehow
political
happening
party.
nowadays. Also, it's happening.
Yes. Now I know that we need big airports. We
Yeah,
need good airports, but airports at the cost of acquiring agricultural lands, which are prime agricultural lands, that is
yeah,
not needed.
yeah,
We need fast roads, but we do not need roads which are very costly. Like for example, there are so many tolls. Have we ever analyzed? There was a system was created. It was called a BOT system: build, operate, and transfer.
yeah,
Now suppose 100 kilometers of road, it costs 1,000 crores, and this BOT was given for 20 years.
yeah,
Now, do you think the amount of toll that the government is extracting, I'll not use the word taking,
yeah,
the amount of toll
yeah,
that the government is extracting,
yeah,
have you ever thought in the next 25 years how much it will extract? A 1,000 crore road will pay a profit, will generate a profit of maybe 1 lakh crores.
yeah,
Today, if you go to Delhi and come back in a single small car,
yeah,
you will pay a toll of anywhere between 2,400 to 2,800 rupees.
yeah,
What is the need? If we have to pay for every public amenities, why do we need a government?
yeah. Build some corporate and manage all these things.
Why do we need a government?
Yeah,
We will say Jharkhand will be managed by X corporate, Bihar will be managed by Y corporate, because we have to pay them. And what we are doing is we are already paying taxes.
yeah,
When you when you bring out when
yeah,
you bring out a new car,
yeah,
don't you pay road tax?
yeah,
And it is a road tax for the lifetime.
yeah,
Now look at it in this way. The present government is saying that they will ban the vehicles which
yeah,
are 15 years old.
yeah,
Now, if age is equal to pollution,
yeah,
then what is the need of pollution certificate that we are generating every 6 months?
yeah,
What is the need of that pollution certificate?
yeah.
And have you made any study that the electric vehicle that you're using, after it's the life cycle of that battery expires,
Yeah.
do you have any policy of
Disposal and yeah,
properly
yeah,
disposing it?
yeah,
Do you have anything?
yeah.
And can you be sure? Can you tell for sure that it will not be polluting more?
And being in India, it create a huge pollution kind of thing.
Yes. And see, if pollution is your main problem, if pollution is your main problem, then you say that we will not renew its license if it fails the fitness test.
Yeah.
And a piece of iron doesn't get old.
Yeah.
If it gets rusted, you just polish it. Look at the pillar, which
Yeah.
is in Mehroli.
Yeah.
If you need to, uh, if you need to throw away everything that is old, you first throw away that iron pillar
Yeah.
because it is very old.
Yeah.
These logics, they have an ulterior motive. So land grabbing is always done with a visible intention of nation building, but it has an ulterior motive. That is the, I mean, it's a plain truth. The people, they are not fools, they understand it. The problem is that people are not, uh, they're not united.
Yeah.
And they are not united because the institutions are not helping either. I would request Honorable Supreme Court to take note of what I've said. Why not make manifesto a legal document?
Yeah.
And why not make it more? Why not make it more uh, visible, more descriptive, with bit of clarity? What is the problem if a government which is aspiring to come to power? What is the problem if they are very open and candid about the policies that they are going to bring and give to the people of India? What is the issue? What is holding them back?
Yeah.
Why can't they be candid? Why can't they be candid about everything on which they are legislating in the next 5 years? Why can't they give a roadmap that in this year we'll bring this legislation, next year we'll bring that legislation? Why can't they do it? At least the people will be prepared in their mind that okay, we are giving vote to this government because it will give us these policies.
Yeah.
Why can't they do that? So the story of Chotanagpur Tenancy Act is that this act was brought about by the colonial British because they genuinely thought that it was needed.
Yeah.
These are the people, and I'm not talking about literate or illiterate or poor or rich or civilized. These are the people whose identity depends upon the forest, and therefore an act of such kind is needed.
And in many parts of India, the land is their identities. They are
Yes, of course.
farmers and they have the only identity is with they have the land and they grow some crops and earn from that only.
And they are happy in that life.
Yeah, they are fulfilled.
If
No, they don't need
you,
a good lifestyle than they are having.
you ask any person in Bihar
Yeah.
who is doing agriculture
Yeah.
that I take this piece of land
Yeah.
whose market value is 20 lakhs and I am giving you a flat worth 1.5 crores in Gurgaon, he'll say thank you very much.
Yeah. That will destroy his own like
Social
generations for
structure.
that. Yeah.
He will say thank you very much. I
Yeah.
don't need it.
Yeah.
You keep your 1.5 crore flat in Gurgaon with you. I am happy with my 20 lakh piece of and you said that it is worth 20 lakhs. Therefore, I knew its worth. I don't know what it is worth. For
Yeah.
me, it is priceless
Yeah. Priceless.
because this is what makes me me. This is where my forefathers toiled. This is where I am toiling, and this is where I expect that my child, at least he keeps this piece of land as a insignia, as a
Yeah.
symbol of
Yeah.
my forefathers'
Yeah.
identity.
Yeah.
So land is so important for us, and it is so sad. When I go to villages, I find that the youth of today, they are not interested in uh, entering into any kind of occupation in their land or related to land, and everybody is trying to sell their piece of land, and they see it as a kind of problem.
Yeah.
They
Burden
see it
kind
as
of
a
thing.
kind of it's a kind of burden.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of this burden,
Yeah.
and they will like to
They will
settle
get a
in.
sum. They will get a sum of amounts, and they
Hmm.
will invest in and get lost like their land, and they also don't get a piece of occupation and these kind of things.
And you know what will happen? These are the very people who become the inland migrants.
Yeah. Inland mining. Yeah.
They go to Bangalore, they
Yeah.
go to Pune. Even
Yeah.
if they live there for 20 years, they'll always be considered as an outsider.
Yeah.
They go to Delhi, they'll always be
Stapit kind
considered.
of thing.
Yes, yes.
They are
Bhaiye.
Vistapits, yeah.
You know what? The Biharis are called as bhaiyes,
Yeah,
and they abuse us with slangs which I cannot utter.
yeah,
Why, bhai? Why do we need that kind of slang? Just because we have parted with our piece of land.
yeah,
When I was in Delhi, when I was studying in Delhi, I had coined this word NRBs. We were the non-resident Biharis.
yeah, yeah,
And I had vowed with my friends
yeah,
that you make a pledge that whatever you do, wherever you go, whatever you become, you'll never sell your piece of land.
yeah,
And and you will do at least some kind of agricultural activity, or at least you will promote the youth of your village to do some agricultural activity.
yeah,
That is needed. So this is the importance of land in our part of the world,
yeah,
India. So think that if land is so important for us, who we always have an alternate carrier. What would be the importance of land for those tribals who see their piece of land as Abba, God, Dharti
yeah, yeah,
Aaba?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, for them, for us, our piece of land is we say that our land is
yeah,
mother,
yeah,
na, but still we sell it.
yeah,
But they consider it not only as mother but as gods.
yeah,
How can they part with their piece of land? So it was under this scenario that this legislation came into being,
yeah,
and we can feel for ourselves how important it was. So in our
because,
next lecture, we are going
yeah,
to get into from 1908 to 1947.
yeah, because a single story is so important for present context also. We can
Yes,
relate many laws which is related to colonial period, and now it's also implicated as present government or
nay,
some
for the
government.
time being, let us forget law.
Yeah,
For the time being, let us forget about law. Let us try to understand from a humanist point of view. Uh, what are you, Gaurav? I mean, you are the sum total of your environment,
yeah,
where your forefathers lived. This is where you have spent your childhood. This is
yeah,
where your father took your finger and he
yeah, yeah.
said, "This is." So
Then that
these
memory can't be created in other town or other place or anywhere else where living.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. You have a piece of land
yeah,
which is, um, say for example, 50 meters by 50 meters, where
yeah,
you have created a tower
yeah,
where 200 families are living.
yeah,
But it is just a cluster.
yeah.
It is not a village.
It can't be a home for us.
It is not a home. It is just a cluster.
Yeah,
It is at least better than a hotel
yeah,
because you don't have to pay the rent every day,
yeah,
but it is a cluster.
yeah,
Societies cannot be developed. We call them societies,
yeah,
but societies cannot be created.
yeah.
It is just a cluster of humanity, disjoint humanity, which are living different, separate lives. They
Because
have
if we
no
go to our
social
villages,
connection.
if
Hmm.
we go to our villages, our forefathers live with their forefathers or their like we have relation like our
Yes,
ancestral relationship.
marriage relations are there,
Yeah,
and then we also try to find our brides in nearby villages so that
yeah.
there is a very
A strong
strong
bond
community
between
bonding.
yeah between villages also they talk like this who come from these villages and
Exactly,
our
exactly.
damadis from these villages. This is
So,
so important for us.
so you know what? We always keep harping Indianness, Indianness, but
Yeah,
before Indianness, there is community.
yeah,
You know what? Uh, India has been a, a very vibrant society because we have had very strong community bonding.
yeah,
As more and more people are getting urbanized, we are losing that teeth to fight,
yeah,
and people are not caring for others. I'll give you an example. During this COVID, when the whole of the India came to a standstill and a halt, so many migrant laborers, they did not live in Gujarat or Bombay.
yeah. They come to
They
their own
yearned,
land. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
they returned to their own place.
yeah.
Why?
Because
They returned
they are established coming to their own land.
exactly, and
Yeah,
and they know very well that they can earn a piece of bread over there and they can earn money, but for happiness they will have to return to their own homeland.
yeah,
So we forget that India is our homeland, but there are homelands in the homelands.
yeah,
I will never see, I love Kerala, but I would love Kerala for a day or two or a
yeah.
month. Or
But
if
only for visiting kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly, I will, and the same thing is with the Keralite people.
yeah. If they
So
feel this home, after some time they will lose their own identity from where they are coming.
this is the reason why even the government officials who they never suppose you are in an all India service
Yeah,
and you are going from places to places, but you would not keep buying land everywhere you go
yeah,
because you know very well that after you retire you will be going to your homeland.
yeah, yeah,
Such is the community bonding.
yeah.
So if this is the case with us who always have an alternative career, see how important it was for the tribals to have their own piece of land which they could own by legislation.
Yeah.
And it is the government, whether it is the state government or whether it is the national government, it should try to preserve and protect such people who are inherently insecure.
Because if we are losing our identity like this,
Hmm.
one day it will happen. Corporates are owning that land, and all workers in that factory is from that land.
Exactly. And you know what? We are very much aware what the outside world thinks of these tribal women and the tribal people.
Yeah,
Even today, the girls are being trafficked.
yeah,
Trafficked from
yeah,
girl trafficking is taking place from the remote districts, and they are being sent to Gurgaon or Delhi or Bombay as domestic help,
yeah,
and they are kept as a sort of prisoner,
yeah,
and they live a very inferior life. The small girls who are 8 or 9 years old, they are sent there as domestic help, and even sexual abuse is done with them. And this is the status of these people. Think if these tribals they lose their piece of land, then the whole of Jharkhand tribals will become the maids and the manual workers of the so-called bigger civilization of
yeah,
India, which we have to prevent.
yeah.
Which we have to prevent. We should not. This is called denigration of a whole community, which we as Indians, which we as part of the brotherhood should stop.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to villages in the remote parts of Jharkhand, I urge the young boys who are 25 or 30 years old. I request them, do not sell your piece of land.
Do whatever you want to do, but don't sell that land
Do
because
not sell your piece of land.
yeah,
It is, they say, Dada, it doesn't give me that earning.
yeah,
I say, forget about it.
yeah,
It may not give you earning for this generation because of certain, but don't sell this piece of land. It is important. You don't realize it. And sometimes they say that, what is this man talking? Today I am getting money for that. It will make my
yeah,
life easier. I say, this money is poison.
yeah. It will destroy your mind and like
It
livelihood
will
identity will be lost by that.
it will make your future civilization slum dwellers.
Yeah,
Within a span of 25 or 30 years, you will
yeah,
find that your potas and the perpotas, they are living in some kind of a slum in some A or B class cities in India.
yeah,
And is this what you want? Is this what you are yearning for? Because these people, see, very, very frankly, these people, the tribal people, they have never valued money. Their forefathers never valued money. So today, if you give them 1 crore, they really do not know what to do with that 1 crore. They are not on.
yeah.
They are not
And it's
enterprising
good, I
enough.
think, and it's good because living at your own land and happy whatever you are having is much better than going to some cities and not fighting for the livelihood and for food you are
Yes,
fighting.
1 crore, 1 crore may be a very big amount
Yeah,
for Jharkhand, but if you take 1 crore in Bombay, it will just vanish.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cost of
So you have lost.
living for 1 or 2 years will be like that. if you are like being a rich life, create a rich life and all.
So you lose your piece of land and
Yeah,
you lose money also. You are
yeah,
left with nothing.
yeah,
So you become a manual worker.
yeah.
So this is the scenario in which we will analyze the CNT Act in our next session.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because this topic is so vast and so indigenous, like we relate to these kind of things. We love our
Yes,
land.
we will come to legislation.
Yeah,
We will come to the legislation part, but we have to narrate the whole story for the generations who will be listening to us or who will be watching us, because then a message needs to be sent about the essence and the uh, thought process which led to the creation of CNT Act,
yeah. Well, now
which is
also we
the
need this kind of law which is like enact our and make us powerful and have own land. Like,
yes, of course, of
yeah.
course, of course.
Let me end this conversation with a thank you note basically because after this, like our last conversation was down,
Okay.
and I don't know our like audience know this because we know the reason of that video and like do this conversation with me. Thank you for being part of legal. So thank you, sir.
The pleasure was all mine, Gaurav.
Because I love to talk with you, and like it's my pleasure to gather knowledge and know much about these legal things and explore about law. Thank you, sir.
You are always like my younger brother, and the pleasure is also from my side.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.